Some say childbirth is the hardest job in a woman's life. After enduring the excruciating pain, I was in euphoria to finally meet my beloved child. But a stupid man trampled on everything. If you can't even take care of the housework, I'm done with you. My husband Jason threw divorce papers at me. Unforgivable. The flame of revenge surged through me. My name is Heather. I got married 4 years ago and had been a housewife. We had hoped to have children as soon as we were married. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to conceive even after a while. When I came to realize it, I was already 30 years old. I was getting impatient seeing women around me having babies. My friends who had babies showed me apps to calculate my ovulation and recommended Chinese herbal medicines to boost my fertility. I tried everything, but nothing was successful. After 3 years of trying, I suggested to Jason that we go for an infertility treatment, but he refused. His reason was it was too much of a hassle. Many women get pregnant without medical help, don't they? Have you been putting in enough effort? He was totally ignorant about conception. It wasn't just up to me, but his effort was necessary too. I had tried to make him understand that, but he wasn't interested. You're overreacting. It's a waste of money to go for the treatment. He insisted it wasn't worth spending to conceive. I fell in love with him for being a sweet and caring person, but I wondered if it was all a delusion. A minor hiccup slowly turned into distrust. Before we were married, he wanted to have 2 kids, and he was eager to share the duty of housework and bringing up children. I assumed he was also feeling the pressure and stress. We were having more arguments over infertility issues, and maybe I was being a little too sensitive. As I reflected, I tried to be more affectionate and caring towards him. Love you, hon. Thank you for taking the trash out. However, I couldn't help but notice that we were becoming more distant. Are you not knocked up yet? You're already 30, aren't you? Isn't it getting too late? Why can't you get pregnant? A woman comes of age once she bears a child, right? The heartless words of Jason stopped me each time. My only ally was his mother, Maggie. Don't say such terrible things. Don't mind him. She lived nearby and was a very kind mother-in-law who brought delicious food that she wanted to share with us every weekend. She scolded Jason for his nasty words and deeds and always defended me. I, too, couldn't get pregnant for a long time, and my mother-in-law used to make comments about it. It was really hurtful to hear on top of my own anguish. My parents had passed away already, so I trusted her like my own mother. You can talk to me about anything. I was thankful for her kindness. She lost her husband early and raised Jason alone. The words of a strong woman were most reassuring. How can such an insensitive man like Jason be the son of this sweet woman? I couldn't help but wonder. At such a time, I became pregnant. Our long-awaited first child after 5 years of marriage. No way. Really? Happiness trembled inside of me as I clutched the test kit. Congratulations! That's really great! I'm very happy for you. I shared the joyous news with Maggie first. Thank you so much for all your support, Maggie. Nonsense. I'll always be here if you need me. Don't forget that. I wanted to surprise Jason and watch his face brighten up. I looked forward to him coming back home that day. But...
Oh, finally!
I felt a sting of pain at his nonchalant reaction. It's our long-awaited baby. Aren't you excited?
For what? There's nothing to be excited about. It's such a normal thing.
Wow, what a killjoy. I expected him to be overjoyed, so I couldn't hide my surprise at his unexpected reaction.
Normal couple would have 2 kids by now. It's just that you are an anomaly.
Why was he making fun of me compared to others? My dim hope of reconciling our relationship by this pregnancy had disappeared into thin air. I didn't mean to cry, but tears welled up. I was going to be a mother, so I must be stronger. I promised myself. My pregnancy was difficult, to say the least. My morning sickness was so awful that I worried about if I could carry out to the full term. Not only morning sickness, but I had to endure desperately with our occasional illnesses. Because I couldn't take over-the-counter drugs. Even at such times, Jason didn't care, but looked at me coldly.
Where's my dinner?
Sorry, I'm feeling too bad that I can't prepare it. Can you make it yourself?
What the? You are a housewife, right? Do your job.
But I'm feeling terrible. Why can't you just help out?
Whatever. I'm gonna eat out.
He was petulant and left the house. Maybe, just maybe, I had a fault too. But his inconsiderate attitude towards his sick wife was very upsetting. Whose baby did he think I was carrying? I thought it was better to keep calm and had a talk once he was back. When he returned after 1 hour, I showed him something. I went for a checkup today. Our baby is getting bigger, you see? I hoped that an ultrasound image would help him realize the fatherhood and would have started treating me better. But his reaction again was like,
And?
He wasn't even interested. It's your baby. Have a good look.
It's just an image.
Can nothing work on him anymore? A feeling of resignation was slowly beginning to grow inside me. I couldn't make him get more involved in this pregnancy. So I consulted with Maggie. She was astounded to hear about the incident. She never imagined that her own son was mistreating his wife.
I apologize on behalf of him. He's terrible.
Please, you don't need to. It wasn't my intention to complain, but I just needed someone to vent to.
Can I come over sometime? If I see him acting oddly, I would scold him. I assume he wasn't really gotten a grasp on it. He should come around if I speak to him.
Of course, please do. I readily accepted her suggestion. It was important for the baby to be born into happy parents. So, I wanted to fix our relationship. However, my expectation crashed once again.
What are you doing here, Mom?
I'm helping Heather, of course. It's a huge job to carry a baby to the term. Jason's fullness was unstirred by his own mother.
I heard what's been going on. You are terrible. You need to grow up for your future child. Don't rely on Heather too much.
It seemed that absolutely nothing could reach his brain.
Why do I need to be preached by you, Mom? Is birthing a child so laudable anyway? Heather is being using her pregnancy as an excuse and slacking on housework. She stays at home and brings no money. But she was gonna waste it on infertility treatments. I don't get it at all.
I was appalled to find out what he had been thinking. I'm not just slacking. I've been feeling too sick to even do my daily things.
Aren't you a housewife? Maintaining good health is part of your job too.
Like it was that easy as you say. You know, it doesn't work like that.
Blah blah blah. You always have excuses. I'm done here.
Me too. I knew it wasn't good for the baby, but I couldn't help raising my voice. He went too far. Calm down. Let's talk it out like adults. Maggie intervened, but there was no use. Jason and I started the Cold War from then on. Maggie tried to mediate between him and me, but all her efforts ended up in the trash. That was all because he refused to talk. He started coming back home late and stayed out almost all day on weekends. We were no longer husband and wife. Nevertheless, I desperately clung to our marriage for the baby. To welcome the baby into the world, I could endure any hardship. I focused on childbirth first and took care of my life from then on. No stress, moderate exercise, and a well-balanced diet. And then came to the day of delivery. The labor was very long, but my healthy daughter was born. It was absolutely unforgettable moment to hold my child for the first time. I was overtaken by love and gratitude for her. Great job, Heather. Congratulations. Maggie, who had been with me all through the labor, was tearing up. By the way, Jason? There was no sign of him anywhere. I couldn't reach him, so I left a message. I'm so sorry for his foolishness. My heart ached for her sorrowful expression. Was it too much to ask for him to be here and celebrate the birth of our first child? As I was thinking, the door of my recovery room was shoved roughly open. Honey! Jason had arrived.
Here, take it.
He handed me something as soon as he entered.
You know, you've been slacking on housework, using excuses of morning sickness and stuff. Such an irresponsible housewife. Just because you've delivered the baby, don't let it go to your head. If you still act the same, I'm divorcing you. I'll reconsider it if you agree to obey my rules.
He was waving the divorce papers as he looked down at me. Maggie was the one to stand up to him.
Jason, where have you been during the delivery?
He ignored her and pressed me to answer him.
So, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna change for the better? Huh?
Your daughter is just born. Don't you have anything else to say?
See, you were spiteful. I'm giving you a chance to change.
I was supposed to be out of the hospital the day after tomorrow, but I couldn't think to raise my daughter with him. I asked myself what to do. The answer came easily. I do not need such a loathsome husband. Okay, let me think about it. I'll keep the papers with me. I grabbed them and put them in a safe place. These papers were going to encourage me to stand on my own feet. I was even thankful to Jason for coming up with the idea first. Then he left without a word. Jason's action made Maggie weep hard. Such a monster is really my son? I don't even know how to apologize to you, Heather. Don't worry, Maggie. But now, I want to ask you for a favor. I told her about my plan, that I had been warming up in my head for a while, and asked for her help. On the day of my discharge, I left the hospital earlier than planned. I held my beloved daughter and took a taxi to a certain place where we are going to live for the time being. When we arrived, Maggie was already awaiting us. "How are you, Heather? Come inside." "Thank you. But is it really okay?" "Of course. It's been empty for a while now. I've had it cleaned out so you can just move right in." Our new home was the house of Maggie's late parents. She arranged the mover. On the next day, Jason mentioned a divorce and had my things packed up and relocated. I was beyond grateful to her. "Now, what are you going to do about the divorce?" "Of course I will. We don't need such an awful man in our lives." "I agree. You can make it without him. I will support you whatever you decide to do. But we will no longer be related. Are you okay with that?" "Never mind. I always think of you as my own daughter anyway. No difference from now on." Her kindness warmed my heart. "I always think of you my own mother too. I wish to keep our new friendship for a long time." We smiled and hugged each other tightly. The three of us will get along just fine. Since then, Maggie and I deepened our friendship. The night I was discharged, Jason called me.
Hey, where have you gone?
"None of your business."
The nurse told me you were already gone when I came by. Weren't you supposed to be out in the afternoon? And your things are all gone from the house. What did you do with the divorce papers?
It was the right idea to leave earlier. If we had bumped into each other, my plan wasn't gonna work. Of course, I've signed and left them with my lawyer.
What? Why did you do that?
What do you mean? You brought them to me.
I just wanted you to change your attitude. Besides, how would we divorce now that we have a child? You were such a fool.
What? Who do you think you are? You were the fool who doesn't care about our child and suggests to divorce in the first place.
Don't regret it.
Whatever you say. We are strangers now. But I'll demand proper child support. It is our daughter's right. My lawyer was supposed to contact him for the details later. Jason didn't really think that I was going to divorce him, but I didn't care. Have a nice life. I hang up on him and run to my beloved daughter. I had to be strong for her. I couldn't be intimidated by something like this. Afterward, I sent him my child support request through my lawyer. As for the division of property, I decided to hire Maggie's attorney. I was really grateful to have a strong support system. Jason had finally grasped the reality after a call from my lawyer, and he sounded more and more feeble by day over the phone.
Babe, I think I've done terrible things to you. I'm really sorry.
So what?
So, I'm hoping to get back together for the sake of her daughter.
Right. Impossible. I could not just forget and forgive. The calamity on the day of my childbirth was deeply rooted in my brain. It was hideous to know that the guy who looked down on me and made fun of me was now such a wimp. Then he started justifying himself.
I was really happy when you got pregnant, but I was also anxious, so I took it on you. You should have been sweeter and more attentive to me. If you thought of me before anyone else.
Here he was, still blaming me. I was up to the roof. I blurted out all my frustration at him. How old are you? You sound like you misunderstand a wife as a mother. What an immature baby. You wanted to take care of? That's exactly what I wanted from you. When I would stress about not getting pregnant and sick during my pregnancy, you never showed a hint of sweetness. You only care about yourself. I'll never forgive you. You must not ever get married. You better end your life alone and lonely. I'm serious. Don't ever get in touch with us. I get chills just hearing your voice. I hang up the phone. Wow, I finally hurled out all the frustrations and resentment. I felt so much better than I expected. Are you feeling okay? Yes, so much lighter. We gave high five to each other. We had to become like real mothers and daughters. After that, Jason became a center of gossip at work. People were curious about the divorce right after childbirth, which sounded more like a soap opera. He was too lonely living alone, so he went out binge drinking with his colleagues. Out of his drunkenness, he explained the tiny details of our divorce, which backfired and isolated him from the others. He felt too uncomfortable in the office and suddenly resigned. The fact he told people what exactly happened proved he still wasn't sorry at all. Instead of being sympathized by his colleagues, he was applauded. The child support was deposited every month, but who knew how long it would continue? Don't worry, I will let you know if I hear anything odd about him. My relatives and I have been watching him. Maggie was the one who told me about his resignation and the reason why. I'm currently living with my daughter and Maggie. It's an unusual combination, but a grandmother's love for my daughter is a big part of her life. Do you want to marry again? No way! I had enough with marriage. I laughed awkwardly, holding my daughter. Don't say that. Even though you're a single mother, you need to enjoy your own life. You're still young. I never imagined such words from the mother of my ex-husband. Hey, she is smiling. Katie is smiling. I bet she's saying, "Hang in there, Mommy." Her endless kindness touches my heart and I tear up. Have I ever been this sentimental? I will always do my best to make my daughter happy, and I will be happy myself. I promise to my smiling daughter.
My name is Helen. I'm 45 years old working mother. I graduate with an associate's degree and work for a local real estate agency. I'm a professional with 25 years of experience. I have ups and downs over the past 30 years. I married twice and had one child. My first marriage was in my 20s. But my ex-husband was involved in a tragic car crash and passed away. I was so devastated that I thought about following him. At such time, my current husband, Ken, who was 2 years my junior, consoled me and gave me hope to move forward. He was the worst salesman working in the same office as me, but I thought he was cute. Well, the cuteness I saw in him disappeared and turned into unreliability and triviality after we got married. He comforted and confided his love in me when I was done. I'm in love with you, Helen. Please marry me. I want to make you happy again. It was easy to be lured by his tenderness when I was in the dark hole. 3 years after my ex-husband passed away, I finally accepted his continuous proposals and was married to him. 70 years have passed since then. Although I wasn't able to have a child with my ex, I had a son with Ken. My son, Tom, was already 15 years old. He was a high school junior, working hard on his project for national science research competitions. I had a turbulent life, but I found happiness once again. At least that was what I thought until a year ago. The change came when we had to decide what to do with Ken's mother. I want my mom to move in with us. I worried about her being alone and lonely at home. Ken suggested when his father passed away. We have a spare bedroom we hardly use, you know. It can be her room. I contemplated. It was true that there was a spare bedroom rarely used, except for occasional guests, but if I had to live with my mother-in-law, it was a different story. I didn't want to create a disturbance in Tom's study either. If my mom could take up on the chores, you'll have more time to take better care of Tom. She can even prepare late-night snacks for him, he said simply. When Tom stayed back at school with his research team, he always had to eat fast food for dinner. Some mothers packed or delivered healthy meals to their kids. I work every day, so I always felt bad for not being able to support him like the other moms. If Karen could do that, Tom wouldn't have been happy for sure. Not only in a calculating sense, I could sympathize with the loss of her husband. I knew too well how they felt to be left behind. I wanted to ease her grief by letting her live with us. And then, Karen moved out of her rental apartment and moved in with us one day. However, it was such a mistake. As soon as she moved in, both she and Ken changed drastically. Here, darling, open your mouth. Thank you, Mommy. Karen took a spoonful of mashed potato and brought it to Ken's mouth. Yummy. You always liked mashed potatoes since you were a kid, sweetie. I understood her love for her son, which she generously gave to him. But was this acceptable for a 70-year-old mother to do to a 44-year-old son? She fed Ken like a baby. Ew. Ever since Karen moved in, Ken turned into a self-centered and selfish brat. Helen, give some of your mashed potatoes to him. It's his favorite food. No way. Why should I? Any kind of potato dish was my favorite food too. Gee, can you even share a bit with your husband? Such an awful wife. Whatever I wasn't gonna budge. You see, Mommy, she always treats me like nothing. She acts superior to me just because she's a bit older. Before Karen moved in, he called her Ma, but now it's Mommy. Ew. A man in his 40s was calling his mother Mommy? Even our 50-year-old son called me Mom. I felt nauseous and my appetite flew out of the window. Come on, give some to him. Wait. Karen just dived her spoon into my mashed potato and impolitely scooped up a chunk. Here you go, darling. Yay, thank you, Mommy. Ew, it was revolting to watch. The exchange between the brat and his mom was so ridiculous that I rolled my eyes. I wonder if they would soon start holding hands in public. It wasn't only their relationship was weird. When Karen just moved in, she must have been wearing sheepskin. In a short while, she shaded, and her true nature was revealed. Look, Helen, the bathroom floor is dirty. You can't even do your chore properly. She was supposed to take over the housework. Contrary to her promise, she did nothing but watch TV in her room every day. And she criticized the way I did things. If you don't like it, please, you can do it yourself. I'm busy with work too. If I retorted, she immediately tried to get Ken on her side. Darling, it's terrible. I was just telling her out of my kindness. Of course, he took her side. You need to listen to the elder. If I need to listen to her, I was older than Ken too. She did absolutely nothing to help with the housework, and of course, she never even tried to prepare Tom's late-night snacks. On the contrary, she disturbed him while he was focusing on his research. Karen turned on the volume when Tom's working. It's too loud for him to concentrate. She didn't flinch even thought I complained harshly. What's wrong with you? My hearing is bad. Let me watch it as loud as I want. She countered and then, he's not focusing hard enough if TV bothers him. I'll tell him. Tom, come here for a sec. She made an illogical accusation against him. Stop it! I tried my best, but she never cooperated to reduce the noise. Tom had no choice but to work late at school or his teammates. Karen didn't like that. She kept calling Tom's cell phone that Ken gave her without his permission. Tom, why are you still out so late? Come back right now. Such unreasonable treatment wasn't good for his education and morals. When I took the phone away from her, she started yelling at me. It's your fault to begin with. Your lack of discipline makes him too carefree. I'll teach you a lesson along with Tom. I ran away from Karen, who was hysterically screaming at me, and took refuge with my neighbor. No point hiding from me. She barged into some of my neighbors and ended up having a quarrel with them. Seriously, it was the worst idea to let her move in. I regretted the decision so much. But even if I kicked her out, she didn't have a place to go. She could go to her sibling's house, which was hours away from the nearest town in the middle of nowhere. She strongly refused that she would never live there. Her retirement was meager, and she didn't want to work on their farm to survive. Nevertheless, the situation as it was, our family was going to be ruined. I made up my mind and demanded, please move out of this house. I will find you a place to live through my work. Karen was stunned at first, but then she smirked. Who decided such a thing? Ken hasn't mentioned anything to me, right, darling? I don't have to move out, do I? She cooed as she leaned against him. You know, we need to put some effort to be patient living together. He took her side. She's also been putting up with a lot of things. You two should be more considerate. It's terrible of you to just kick her out. What kind of consideration did she ever show? I was determined to have her leave. Then she mentioned something odd. If you don't want to live with me, you leave. This is Ken's house anyway. Leave Tom with us and get out of here. What? I couldn't fathom what she was telling me. I was the one to leave? From this house? He worked hard to buy this place. You might want to argue that you work too, but I doubt that you make enough to buy such a house. You took an advantage of being older and looked on him. But I won't let you do that anymore. Ken was fidgeting next to his mother, who was yelling and spitting in my face. Darling, do you agree with me? Well... Before he could continue, she interrupted. Why do you think I let him marry an older and used woman like you in the first place? She suddenly changed the subject. Only to have you bear a child. Otherwise, I would have never agreed to this marriage, you ex-widowed used woman. She called me used? I couldn't believe it. Wait, how rude are you to call me that? It's the truth, isn't it, darling? I expected him to finally scold his mother, but it was wishful thinking. Well, Mom used to say I need to get married and have a son with whoever. To be honest, I did think it would be easier to lure a sad widow woman. He said without a care in the world. I would have preferred a younger girl, but she said it was better to have an older woman who was out of her prime. Are you serious? I was flabbergasted. The way he approached and proposed to me, everything was orchestrated by Karen. It didn't matter who, as long as she could be a tool to produce a child. Tom's already grown up, so you're not needed anymore. Leave him behind, and you get out of this house, she said triumphantly. I will discipline him from now on, and raise him to be an impeccable man. I saw my 17 years of marriage burn to ashes in my head. Ken's affection and Karen's kindness were all fakes. The realization devastated me beyond belief. I decided to get a divorce then. But before I could mention the word, something happened. Karen's relative passed away, and there was going to be a funeral. Her relative also lived in the middle of nowhere, so it was impossible to return on the same day. There were many customs in the area, and it was going to take at least a week to finish. Ken was able to take a paid leave even at the last moment of notice. Since he was the worst salesman in the company, there was no difference if he was there or not. Incredible. I was impressed in a weird way. Karen wanted Tom to come along, but this research team was having the final test on the model that week. I will bring him over once he is done. Well, I guess no other choice. You don't really need to come, though. As usual, her sarcasm never stopped. Tom will eventually inherit all the land, so he needs to meet everyone and learn the customs there. I thought whatever you say in my head and kept quiet. I was grateful for the greatest opportunity to act on my plan. Ken and Karen left to attend the funeral. 3 days later, it was the day of burial. Tom was done with his project, but we decided to stay put. Then I sent a text to Ken during the funeral. I'm divorcing you. Tom is coming with me. Goodbye. I guessed. He was too surprised to understand the seriousness. Triple question mark. And only replied with 3 question marks. Karen called me 4 days after the text. Hello? Are you guys back? You were gone for a bit longer. I answered. Where are you? She started ranting right away. We can't get in the house. Have you changed the lock while we were away? They were flustered to find that their key didn't open and locked outside with their baggage. I responded calmly. That's right, I changed the lock. I can't let weird people get inside freely, you know. My spiteful tone irritated her. What do you mean? Are you saying I'm weird? She was outraged. Not only you, but Ken too. How come no one is at home? Where's Tom? He's studying next to me. It's a small apartment, but he says he can concentrate better without the noise. Tom was taking a break at that moment. He had to take a proper rest to study hard. I wasn't gonna be fastidious about it. We already moved out. It's so convenient to work for a real estate company. We found a nice place we could move in right away. As a real estate agent, I knew many owners of houses and apartments. You are very welcome to move out, but how dare you change the lock? It's Ken's house. She still hadn't grasped reality. That's not his house, it's mine. What? She was so astounded that she choked on her words. The 3-bedroom house was too big for a single person, but perfect for a family of 3. We were living in harmony until Karen came along. Did you really think the income of the worst salesman like your son can buy such a nice house in that area? I added insult to injury. I plan to sell it. I don't want to keep it and have you guys barge in on us. I continued ranting. Karen had lost her words after I called her son the worst salesman. He'll receive divorce papers in a few days. Even if I ask for alimony, he won't be able to pay up with his low salary. Let's just get it over with quickly. Then she said something unexpected. Yeah, right. You don't understand, do you? When a couple gets divorced, their assets must be divided between them. Half of the sales will go to Ken. She tried hard to keep her wits about her. Karen, I don't have to share the assets I had prior to the marriage. I laughed at her shallow wisdom. I voted with my ex-husband's life insurance. She was speechless at this unexpected provision of the law. Do you get it? That's that then. I was about to hang up when stubborn Karen started screaming. Then return Tom to us. I'm not giving up the custody of my only grandson. I turned the speaker on and let Tom join the conversation. Hey Tom, your grandma says she wants to live with you. She says you can take her inheritance. What do you want to do? He threw a magazine he was reading and said, No way, I can't. That's out of the question. She and Dad are really weird. I shudder to think what she would do to me if I became the heir of her family. I turned the speaker off and said, Here you go. He doesn't want to be the heir, so please find someone else. Although a son like yours, over 40, low income, and mommy's boy, will have a hard time finding a woman. Well then, take care. Ken and I got divorced. The lawyer I hired through my work connection managed to collect a good amount of child support in one lump sum. Ken supposedly consulted with different lawyers, but all had refused to take the case. It wasn't the kind of case he could have won in the lawsuit, and everyone knew he was the worst salesman. The house was sold on good terms using the full advantage of my career. Ken and Karen had lost their house. Ken shed mommy's boy and no longer lived with Karen. She had no choice but to move to the middle of nowhere and was forced to work on the farm. I hate Paige the most in the world, she used to declare, and I felt good to imagine her crying every day. I'll continue to work hard until my retirement. A good life with a full pension is just around the corner.